The field. Every neighborhood has one. Grass, concrete, or dirt. The stage is the same. The rules, unwavering. And the goals, beautiful.
It goes in! Improbable scenes!
It's where the dream begins to achieve the ultimate victory.
The underdogs have prevailed once again!
One cup, open to all.
There is a celebration in Orlando.
Now, America's oldest soccer tournament is back.
Oh, it's incredible!
The field doesn't care if you're a pro or trying to be one. It only asks, how bad do you want it?
It's unbelievable!
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
These two sides met in MLS just 6 days ago, but tonight they vie for a spot in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal as Houston Dynamo play host to Minnesota United. It was a 1-0 on the day last Wednesday at Allianz Field. Bangi Langwane, the only goal in the game, and as you see in that central region of the bracket tonight, they vie for a chance to face Austin FC or Chicago Fire in the next round of the Cup. Chris Whittingham alongside Eric Dobransky. And Eric, as we can get to our players to watch, have to begin with Thor Ulfarsson of Houston Dynamo. Scored in the last round and scored at the weekend in the league.
Somebody that is in tremendous form. He can finish in a variety of ways, from distance, inside the box. He had a tremendous shot from distance in that game winner against Sporting KC, but then the tremendous header, the late equalizer against FC Dallas. He finds a way into the match. He scored an early one against Sporting KC and a late one against FC Dallas.
And for Minnesota United, have to focus on Bangi Langwane. Has scored 2 goals in that Open Cup round of 32 match against Philly Union, and also scored the late winner for Minnesota over Portland.
Playing with a lot of confidence right now, and it's somebody that Houston Dynamo are going to have to keep track of. He's so explosive and dynamic on and off the ball.
As we can bring you to the starting lineups for both of these teams, only Amina Bassi remains in the team for Houston Dynamo that played against FC Dallas at the weekend. Minnesota, 6 changes from the team that won away at Portland last time out. They make the trip down to Texas straight from Portland, and it's 6 changes from that starting lineup. And it's Clint Irwin back in the starting lineup after he saved the winning penalty against Kai Wagner. It's Philadelphia Union in the 4th round of the Open Cup. Coming into that back line, the former Houston Dynamo player Zarek Valentin. DJ Taylor moves over to left back. Brent Coleman comes into the center of defense. Sangbin Jong is back in the starting lineup. He'll play in behind and sometimes with Mendez Garcia. And Will Trapp comes back into that midfield area. You see for Houston, the only player that stays in the starting 11 from their 1-1 draw away at Dallas in the Texas Derby, Amina Bassi. And he'll play a key part in that front 3. Our matchday referee is Rami Tushan. He will get us started in mere moments as the 5th round of the Cup gets going in Texas as Houston Dynamo play host to Minnesota United. And Houston bringing through quite a few changes into their starting lineup. 10 changes in total. And between the 5 players along that back, the goalkeeper and the back 4, there is not a single start in MLS among them. Taylor Maples playing it back to Andrew Tarbell. Taylor Maples, a Houston Dynamo 2 player, was in the MLS Next Pro Best 11 in 2022, and it's his 2nd appearance here in the Open Cup on a short-term loan from Dynamo 2. Dispossessed there was Nelson Quinones. A warm, a clear evening here in Houston as start to hit the summer months when it's become one of the damper grounds in MLS. This ball bent in behind, and Garcia gets to it first, ahead of Eric Sviatchenko, who makes his first Houston Dynamo appearance after joining from Midtjylland in Denmark. Brad Smith unable to get on the other end of that switch. And Sviatchenko, one of the big acquisitions for Ben Olsen, making 16 additions to the squad in total in this transfer window gone by. As Longwano would play the crossing over the head there of Mender Garcia, and Mujin Murana taking no chances by heading away for a corner.
And you mentioned those squad rotations just a moment ago, and we'll talk about it a little bit throughout the match, is the congestion of the MLS schedule along with this U.S. Open Cup schedule. So I think the opening exchanges are going to be so important. You look at Minnesota, they're playing on the front foot thus far. It's really early, but you'll see in this 10, 15-minute span what each team's intent is, and getting an early set piece is really important as well.
Minnesota in the midst of 8 games in 28 days as the corner does get swung into that 6-yard area, and a strong claim from Andrew Tarbell. Joins after 2 years with fellow Texas side Austin FC. He's brought in, he thought, to potentially be the starter, but Brad Stuver, who had largely been a third goalkeeper in MLS, not only has won it, but has thrived in his time with Austin. So moves across the state, joins up here with the Dynamo. Did start the last 2 rounds of the Open Cup.
And 2 clean sheets as well. And that previous round against Sporting KC, the early red card to Gasper in the 35th minute saw Houston Dynamo playing down a player throughout that match, and collectively and defensively doing such a great job of holding that Sporting KC off the scoreboard.
It's been a pair of 1-0s for Houston to get to this stage of the Open Cup.
And even besides the opening exchanges that you're going to see, whether it's tactically or matchup-wise, these are 2 teams that, regardless of the MLS regular season thus far, in the U.S. Open Cup, Houston Dynamo, 2 straight clean sheets in their 2 previous rounds. Minnesota United, 6 goals in 2 games, 3 goals a game. That is half their goals for in the MLS regular season. So this is an offense that's proven to be explosive here in the U.S. Open Cup.
Nice idea there from Rosales to try the dummy, and the subsequent cross is handled rather easily there by Tarbell. And the last round of the Open Cup was a cracker of a game. Finished 3-3 after 120 minutes, and Minnesota eventually going through on penalties. But they were 2-0 up in regular time. They were 3-2 up in extra time and gave up late equalizers in both stages to Kai Wagner, the Philadelphia left back. But it was Wagner whose final penalty was saved by Clint Irwin. That's how Minnesota arrived at this stage.
And really a match that was a lot of action past the first half on, as you mentioned, all those goals happening at the 68th minute and beyond.
Free kick won there by Ulfarsson. This fixture was part of the runs for both these sides to finals in 2018. Tournament which Houston would go on to win. Beat Minnesota in the round of 16 as it does come to this right side. Quinones' cross. One initially there. We'll come here to Brooklyn Reigns, who doesn't mind a hit, and Clint Irwin had to get fingertips to it. Although it does go over those fingertips and out for the goal kick.
And what a great first introduction to the final third by the Houston Dynamo. Brooklyn Reigns, who had the game winner against Tampa Bay Rowdies in that U.S. Open Cup match. Almost found an early one here.
Boxall unable to control that one. I thought that Irwin did make the save, but it bounced off the top of the crossbar. Reigns, who got his first Dynamo goal in the Open Cup in their 1-0 win over Tampa Bay Rowdies in the 3rd round. Here's Taylor Maples. Just losing control there. Talking about that history, Houston beating Minnesota in the round of 16. Eventually beat Philadelphia Union in the final to win the 2018 edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Minnesota the next year beating Houston in the very same stage in this round of 16. Go on to beat New Mexico United and Portland Timbers before eventually losing to Atlanta United in the final. The offside flag is up against Mender Garcia. Leads the line tonight for Adrian Heath's Minnesota United. We have a few striking options that the Minnesota manager has gone to try and solve the problem up front. Luis Maria going again at the weekend. Sang-Bin Jong is occasionally tried up front. He's playing in a 2 at the moment in this defensive shape. To find that week in, week out goal scorer. Of course, a big part of that is the chance creation, which is limited at this moment in time without Emmanuel Reynoso, who has been reinstated by MLS after taking some time to come back from his native Argentina. Releasing a statement in the last week. It was a difficult time for him and his family. The reason why he could not come back to Minnesota. Still, some work to be done in the dressing room about their star man, reintegrating him back into the side. Arriaga. Changing there with Brent Coleman. Minnesota for so long. Whole way in MLS. 4 years in NASL as well, his 11th season with this club. Very much been their rotational center back in MLS. As Clint Irwin surveys the scene.
See Minnesota really looking for a balance of being urgent in that final third, but also being patient with switching the point of attack, creating some of those angles and those channels to play into.
Received well by Garcia, but Rosales dispossessed from behind. Houston putting in challenges from several angles, and eventually the advantage awarded by referee Rami Touchon. Michael Boxall, another player who's been with Minnesota United since the beginning, but the beginning of their tenure at MLS, joined midway through that expansion season. First player to hit 100 league appearances for the Loons. Here's Eric Valentin. Played down this very same flank in Dynamo Orange. Here for 2 years, 4 assists in 50 matches. As Rosales now can play the little cross in, Sang-Bin Jong leaving it, but Garcia was deeper into the area and it never came for him. Now Quinones with a burst of pace to get beyond DJ Taylor and trying to hit the cross in towards the onrushing Ofarson, but it does deflect out for the corner.
And again, this is that patient and urgent style of play that Minnesota is really perfecting thus far here early on in the match. You're getting really good numbers forward. And I think you mentioned the matchup just 6 days ago, and I think it's always difficult to beat a team twice, but knowing that each of these matchups are going to be a little bit more unique tonight, really good transition for Houston to earn this corner.
It is lofted in. Tracking it in the air there was Sviatchenko. It went over his head off the glancing header and out for the throw.
And you spoke about the pressure that Minnesota was placing on early in this first half. It was that pressure that got Houston Dynamo in trouble in their matchup last Wednesday, with the lone goal coming from a turnover in the build-up phase for Houston Dynamo.
Bassi recovering the second ball. Changing there with Olfarson. Caicedo. Wide for Mujib Murana. Puts the foul in as he lost control. Another player featured with Dynamo 2 in MLS Next Pro. League in its second season, providing a lot of opportunities, particularly for players that have come through the academies at a lot of MLS clubs. Dynamo very much trying to grow their output in such a talent-rich area of the U.S. as Maples there just under a bit of pressure from Garcia and forced to just get rid. Couldn't really head back to Tarbell and didn't want to put him under pressure. Smith clears. Smith, who starts in the Open Cup for a second time, as it's lofted in towards Garcia, takes it with an arm out, and it very much is handball given against the Colombian.
And right now, Houston absorbing a lot of pressure from Minnesota, but they're finding a number of outlets as we see the handball by Garcia. But really counting on some of those transition moments when you find Minnesota in this expansive shape. So just having to be careful. And then, again, we talked about the previous round against Sporting KC for Houston. Only playing with a full 11v11 for 35 minutes. So really unable to see what their lineup was able to do against Sporting KC. Really had to pin some players back. Defended really, really well.
They've defended really well under Ben Olsen this season, conceding only 11 in the league. They've only scored 11. It's the next jump. Ben Olsen's teams were known for being very gritty. I might mind the characterization, but defensive at times when he was in DC. But he's come to Houston with the intent of playing more proactively, using the ball more, and more entertaining soccer, but yet resulting in a flurry of goals. Maples. Nice ball between lines and out Bassi. Receiving it there from Baird. It's cut out there by Valentin, but it's towards his own goalkeeper, and Irwin leaps to grab it.
And really good entry pass there by Maples. Really initiating that sequence. And you were just talking about it, Houston Dynamo, they've really created this defensive identity under Ben Olsen. And sometimes teams, when you create that foundational identity, you feel like sometimes it takes away the freedom of attacking and the fluidity of the offensive side of the ball. But it's really almost the opposite. It starts to build that structure where you do become a little bit more free in the final third. You become influential in those runs off the ball. And I think that's just a part of the building process with this Houston Dynamo team. Really good on the defensive side right now, but just getting to that point where offensively they're really finding a rhythm, starting to collectively connect, and you see it in some of those sequences right there, initiated by the ball from Maples, almost finding that ball in from Bassi.
Minnesota going direct. Sanbin Jung, as I believe it was Garcia, but the challenge in first that results in the free kick to Houston. Sanbin Jung, though, looked like he was caught. Yeah, sort of a chain reaction. Garcia into Maples, into Sanbin Jung, and South Korean a bit slow to get up.
That was a good look. It was 2v2. We see the foul on Garcia halting that sequence there, but that's where both of these teams are going to try to find a good mix and a good balance of stretching each other's back line.
Baird. And Smith just about keeping it in play. Smith, who is recovering from a torn ACL sustained last year with DC United. Get starts, providing competition at left back. Houston bringing a couple of players in that position. Is decent skill here from Quiñones working on this right. Bassi and Reigns, and the idea there from Baird was for the back heel, but Bassi had gone, and now the offside flag would come up against Houston.
And really good momentum building up for Houston. Again, finding moments where they can collectively join the attack. And you mentioned Smith, somebody that not only creates those numerical advantages out wide, but the services and the delivery, the quality of the delivery is so important for the Houston Dynamo.
Kervin Arriaga. Now Houston applying some pressure. Baird, who at times has played as a center forward for Houston, and for the most expensive transfer in club history, Sebas Ferreira. Part of the defensive emphasis, particularly in the forward line from Ben Olsen. Baird does the hard yards. He's not hit for as many goals as anticipated since joining the Dynamo in 2021. 3 in 45 appearances. That's Trapp. It's a switch out towards that left side. Murana in the way. And now Caicedo on Fermina Passi.
And we talk about that defensive structure by Houston. Now it's really about, can that structure just start higher up the field so they regain possession higher, closer to frame.
Brad Smith with the cross in and the header away there from Coleman before Quiñones can arrive on the scene.
And you saw it just a moment ago with that front line pressing Minnesota, but that midfield unable to pick up that open pocket of space, and Minnesota able to play out. And those are going to be some sequences and some moments where collectively just getting on the same page and finding ways to have numbers forward, and sometimes, or a lot of the times, best attacking shape comes from that defensive shape. And that's where Houston's going to continue to grow into this match.
As Longwane was being harried. Told you about Bongo Hukle Longwane and the build up to this one. Scored at the weekend in their win over Portland. Scored 2 in the last round of the Open Cup. And scored the lone goal in the meeting between these two sides last Wednesday night. A win for Minnesota. He has been absolutely on fire. As the free kick will come here, is a late challenge in on Corey Baird, and Will Trapp not pleased with the decision, nor Baird's attempt to sell that decision. Farson was pleading for the yellow as the challenge came in on Corey Baird.
And we talk about those opening exchanges, and you see Will Trapp catching the right foot of Baird. That's where you, and we're talking about finding a balance and a mixture of playing physical, but also making sure you don't pick up an early yellow card, especially with the fixtures that you have coming up, congested schedule. You don't want to force some sort of squad rotation within a U.S. Open Cup match.
Bossian towards that back post and just unable to get anything on it. Zviachenko, or at least anything decisive towards goal. Fans, dive deeper into the thrills and drama of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Join the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Open Cup, and on Facebook at Official Open Cup. And you'll see highlights of the goals coming from other games. 2 other matches in action at the moment, as Inter Miami lead it home by 1-0 over Nashville SC. Franco Negri with the goal in that one. And just before the break in New Jersey, FC Cincinnati going ahead of New York Red Bulls by 1-0 through a goal from Yuya Kubo. These matches are available on the platforms of Bleacher Report and CBS Sports Golazo. Coleman. Michael Boxall. Talked about the busy period of fixtures for both of these teams with a couple of MLS midweek match days and the Open Cup, keeping teams occupied. Minnesota playing in Portland on Saturday night and electing to just travel here directly to Houston rather than going home and then flying here. Been here for a couple days. Six changes from that team that played on Saturday for return home to Allianz Field as Minnesota will take on Real Salt Lake. Back-to-back weekends with Texas derbies for Houston. Drew 1-1 away at Dallas last time out, and this weekend will entertain Austin FC here at Shell Energy Stadium. Sang-Bin Jung with that cheeky idea, but it didn't quite come off. Trap. Play on there with Rosales in the face of some pressure there from young Quiñones. DJ Taylor.
Really good composure on the ball by Minnesota. Even when they get dispossessed, they regain possession really quickly, but good decision making. But again, when space becomes limited, how are they going to access different areas? They're going to have to do it through link-up play. Are they going to do it in those 1v1 moments? Because right now they're having a bulk of the possession, but once they hit the final third, it's really Houston doing a good job of screening passes, making sure they are playing into those numbers up situations where they can win possession. But right now Houston having some difficulty retaining possession.
Reigns trying to thread the needle there, but it didn't quite come off for him. Here's Taylor. Garcia across to receive in the area. Taylor in towards Longwane, who can control head of the keeper, and it's a huge save from Tarbell to deny the on for Longwane. That was a great chance off the fortunate deflection. Oh, and it's given away there. Coleman has presented it. Wait, the offside flag has come up against Olfarsson. It must have been for the movement before.
I think they might be saying the ball went out of bounds before the ball was played backwards. This service here, Longwane just on an island against Smith, and what a save by Tarbell. And you almost think for a moment that Houston Dynamo have a transition here. But talk about an early, impactful save by Tarbell. And
that's close. That is close. So they're saying that the ball went out for a throw before Coleman presented it to Olfarsson. That is very much a fortunate decision for Minnesota. Obviously the assistant's right there, so it's better place than we are, but still, considering where that pass was going and the chance it would have left to, Coleman will have to thank his lucky stars for that touchline. We have free kick now. Dossie over it. Decent whipped in ball comes glancing through the area, but a shove in there on DJ Taylor results in a free kick. He won the header, but was off balance.
This is a team in Houston that we've already seen, but we've seen it in previous matchups, that they're going to defend well. They're going to defend services, which, again, if you're a team that's prepared for that, you get the numbers behind the ball and you make first contact. Obviously, that matchup right there with Smith and Longwane was not the preferred matchup on that service, but a save like that by Tarbell can really swing the momentum for this team.
Bossy, first time into the area, helped on here for Corey Baird. Baird to strike, a deflection in the way, shouts for hands, but referee immediately pointed to the right shoulder. It will be a corner. No VAR in the Open Cup, so this decision will stand regardless of what it looks like here. DJ Taylor in the way, and his arm was down at his side. The referee was placed to award the corner here. Bassi to swing it in. And rising, and a chance there for Murana, but he couldn't quite get the clean contact, came glancing through. It will be a throw in here for Houston Dynamo, but looked like it opened up there for a second for Mujib Murana. And Houston now trying to apply some pressure. Smith avoiding the foul throw there. Second round, Longwane's managed to win the free kick. Smith on his third MLS club. Spent 4 years in Seattle before heading to DC last year. Fortunately tearing his ACL early in his tenure in the nation's capital. Came through the system at Liverpool. Premier League football with Bournemouth as well, as Longwane receives that ball in behind. You saw there on your screen, Nashville did find the equalizer. The 66th minute, it is Alex Muwil. Draws that tie level at Dry Pink Stadium now in the 70th minute of play. Brooklyn Reigns fouled there. 18-year-old, part of the residency program of Barcelona, just based in Arizona. Houston acquiring his homegrown rights from Real Salt Lake. Played a fair bit for Houston Dynamo too, and now getting a chance here in the Open Cup.
When we talk about the schedule and the U.S. Open Cup, this is really where clubs and organizations showcase their depth. And as you mentioned with Houston Dynamo 2, homegrown players, this is an opportunity for them to showcase their characteristics and attributes as players, but for the organization to really display the depth and the quality that they have, as we see the yellow card here on Arriaga.
Yeah, strong challenge in there, and Luis Caicedo, and first booking of the match handed to the Honduran. Arriaga is on 4 in the league. Winner of 20 international caps for the Honduran national side. Caicedo. Shape ball out to this right side, and Quinones now with a chance to cross. His hit well overcooked. Will be playable here for Smith. Reigns. Caicedo. Did to turn on it. Caicedo, who is nearly 2 years of football, as it's a nice through ball in behind Quinones, and it's a save there from Clint Irwin. The flag stayed down. What a through ball it was. And Quinones just couldn't apply the finish.
And now both goalkeepers have exchanged game-changing saves.
What a spot on that ball in behind. Perfectly timed as well. Here's Bassi. Again, trying to clip into the area. Bear the attempted flick on. It's a back heel, and it's a handball given against Michael Boxall, and it's a penalty to Houston Dynamo.
And this has been a really good sequence by the Houston Dynamo. The patience here, that threaded ball through, the timing of the run. What a save there by Irwin now, who's going to have to make a save here on the penalty kick. But even as that ball traveled backwards, Minnesota just was never able to reestablish their line outside that 18-yard box. Retreated really quickly here.
I beg your pardon, Longwane, who had his arm away from his body there on the attempted flick. And now a big chance here. And it's Baird who won it, who is going to take it. Interesting decision. Amin Abbasi scored a penalty on each of his first 4 MLS starts, but it's Baird who made the run into the area that'll get the award. And the chance to take this penalty. Houston to go 1-0 up for a 3rd time in this Open Cup. In front of the supporters' end here. Shell Energy Stadium. For the handball against Longwane. Here's the attempt of Corey Baird. He goes down the middle. A cool take. And Baird is giving Houston the lead.
And you said it, a cool take from the spot there by Baird. Drawing the penalty, finishing the penalty, and putting his side up 1-0. And for Houston Dynamo, although they've seen some selective moments in the final third, they have asked a lot of different questions of this Minnesota United side defensively. They've seen a couple early corner kicks, a couple set pieces, and then earning that penalty. And with as much defending as they've done thus far in this first half, Houston has, they find themselves up 1-0.
His first goal of the year. All competitions for Corey Baird. As you were mentioning earlier, it's not quite been as prolific from a goal-scoring point of view in his time in Houston, particularly compared to his time in Salt Lake. MLS Rookie of the Year in 2018. 15 goals in 90 games. His time with RSL is hit for just 3 and 45. His time in Houston, as it will be a throw to Houston Dynamo, much to the displeasure of the Minnesota United bench and technical area.
And when you see an attacking player in that deeper position, I mean, it just speaks to the numbers that Houston is getting involved in the attack. And you have a player like Longwane having to defend inside the 18-yard box.
We were telling you about that match in Miami that's currently 1-1. They've now gone into lightning delay, so that one will take a while yet to finish. It will be a throw for Minnesota, who now find themselves a goal behind. The 2023 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup delivers more heroics and more heartbreak tomorrow night. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Golazo Network. Games will be available on the Bleacher Report app and BR Football's YouTube channel. Visit usopencup.com for the full schedule and links to watch all the action. Two USL v MLS matches tomorrow. Birmingham, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. Only 2 non-MLS sides remaining in the competition. Here's Boxall.
There is still plenty of match left, but this is a position where Houston's found themselves to be very comfortable finding an early goal or finding the first goal and not conceding. The 2 clean sheets thus far in the 2 previous rounds. It just breeds confidence defensively when you know you're that difficult to break down.
Caicedo just sending it long. And O'Farson now with the press has went off of Arriaga and gone down. The referee will award not just a foul, but a yellow card. This is going to be a second yellow for Arriaga. He is off. A red card shown to the Minnesota midfielder. Houston were down to 10 in the last round and still progressed. Now up a man and up a goal.
And as you saw that develop, you saw where Arriaga was going defensively, and he knew how dangerous this transition moment was going to be for O'Farson. And it's draws the second yellow. Here's the first yellow. He puts his side down a player in the first half. And we talk about Houston scoring first and then being able to see a game out as they've had 2 clean sheets. This just makes that even more difficult for Minnesota, as you could see the frustration from Arriaga. And it was almost a careless turnover out of the back in that 1v1 moment.
Chucking the tape on his hands in frustration. And now Minnesota are down to 10. Away from home in the Open Cup. And Houston will feel this is a big opportunity to get to the quarterfinal of a cup competition. Arriaga taking a while to eventually walk off the pitch, and now Bassi will swing in the free kick. Now Quiñones drifting through to have a go! And it wasn't far away. Just wide there. He struck it sweetly, but just off target.
And it'd be interesting to see that if not only that double yellow changes the dynamic of the game, but does it change the pace in which Houston finishes off this first half? Do they go out and try to find this second goal before halftime? Because unquestionably at halftime, Minnesota is going to make the adjustments to play with 10 players. So for Houston, do you play with a bit more pace and urgency to go ahead and find that second one here before this first 45 finishes out?
And under Ben Olsen, they've only hit for more than 1 goal twice in 14 matches. Just to make themselves a bit more comfortable here. I want to try and make their advantage tell. And add a second. Less than 5 minutes remaining in this first half, in Minnesota will have to take advantage of these sorts of opportunities. Sunbin Jong into the penalty area and away from Brad Smith. Set pieces will have to be the way forward.
And you mentioned it, set pieces, restarts, those are all going to be moments that Minnesota is going to try to control, use the time wisely, set up properly, be really detailed with those set pieces.
It'll be a throw. Maples thought he played it off of Garcia, but right in front of the assistant, electing to give it to Minnesota. Now Valentin will run over and get a different match ball. Plenty of ramp for Valentin to get a long throw in. Again, these are the sorts of opportunities they'll try and create from. Garcia, the header on goal. Andrew Tarbell had to be alert to it. It was Longwane, I beg your pardon, who was able to direct that on target. A chance from the long throw.
Yeah, we talk about the restarts and Houston possibly picking up the pace to go ahead and find that second goal and make this lead a bit more comfortable. But for Minnesota, really taking some of the air out of the ball and really taking advantage of those restarts and those long throw-ins.
Smith, a nice ball forward up to Lafarson, who awkwardly controls it back to the Houston left back. Dynamo keeping a bit of possession, but the Icelandic forward a bit off there with Smith. One of those things you lose when you don't play together every week from the starting lineup.
And the other intriguing element that'll present itself in the second half is not only the adjustment that Minnesota United makes now with 10 players, but the same for Houston Dynamo in terms of what space do you really want to take advantage of now that you're up a player. We've already seen Smith be released really early on throughout the match, even when it was 11v11. This gives you even more to work with in terms of what spaces and angles you want to expose while you play forward.
Saw Houston trying to hit in quick transition with Caicedo, but unable to find Ofarson. Now Bassi has won it cleanly there. Waits the cavalry to arrive. There's foul coming in there on Brooklyn Reigns. Smith. Getting it from Baird, who flicked up to win the handball and then converted the penalty. Quinones. Murana. And Sviatchenko. Smith on the turn there. Houston now enjoying a comfortable bit of possession here. Up a goal and up a man. Irving Arriaga getting 2 yellow cards and getting his marching orders. Caicedo interchanging there with Murana. Houston mostly keeping it amongst the back six. Pull Minnesota apart, who look like they moved into a 4-4-1. Their man disadvantage. Talon Maples. I'm trying to go direct in behind it towards Bassi, who's attempting to make the run off the shoulder there of Coleman, but Irwin there first. A minimum of 3 minutes added on at the end of this first half, as a bit of awkward work there to do for Sviatchenko. Claimed there by Andrew Tarbell. 3 minutes at the end of this first half. Sviatchenko making his first appearance, the Ukrainian-born international for Denmark. The captain for Midtjylland, one of the big clubs in Denmark. It's a serial winner. Played for both Midtjylland and Celtic. Is Ofarson helping it on through the area towards Baird, rather than taking the strike on himself, and allowed Irwin the chance to step out and claim.
This really did look like a sequence where Ofarson had a better opportunity to take it himself. Looking for Baird, and I know we've had the goal and we've had the sending off of Arriaga, but was some of that momentum shifted with the Tarbell save? On Lugwani.
Both keepers have made big saves in this one. Sunbing Jung. Decent cross in. Garcia trying to get something to it. But Garcia is adjudged to have headed that one out of play himself. To finish the point on Sviatchenko, he's brought in as the big experience center back into this team. Won 11 trophies in Europe with Midtjylland in Denmark and Celtic in Scotland. And close to 400 appearances for those two giants of their respective countries. Part of an overall drive, this Houston side, to bring in players that have won in other places and improve the culture here. Group of winners. Key traits that they look for in the offseason. Offside flag up against Quinones, and a bit too late on the ball into him there from Reigns. And it will be a free kick, but work to do for Adrian Heath at the interval. Trying to adjust to find a way back into this game. Now down a man and down a goal. Supporters that came out on a Tuesday night want to see their side into an Open Cup quarterfinal, which they would potentially face a fellow Texas rival. Drawn into this part of the draw with Austin FC and Chicago Fire. And there is the halftime whistle. Two big saves from Clint Irwin and from Andrew Tarbell at 0-0. And the game changed when that man, Corey Baird, flicked onto the arm of Bongahukle Longwane in the penalty area, winning his side a penalty, which he would duly convert. Ervin Arriaga would then earn himself a second yellow card. And Houston Dynamo now find themselves ahead by a goal and ahead by a man, as Minnesota are down to 10 men. Your score at the break is Houston Dynamo 1, Minnesota 0. We'll take you through the highlights of this one and bring you closer to the second half. On the other side, Houston leading Minnesota by a 1-0 at the break.
Is it his muscles, perfect aim, or awesome dancing moves? Or is it because he's 100% committed to supporting MD Anderson? Cancer patients need blood donations throughout their treatment, and one donation helps up to 3 patients. So what makes Diesel our MVP? He's got passion running through his veins. Do you need orange? Make an appointment today at MD Anderson Blood Bank. Together we can beat cancer.
Round up your total when visiting the team store today, and check out round up your purchase to the next highest dollar. 100% of your donation supports cancer research and programs at MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Former Major League Soccer MVP, and I'm going to tell you about the new home for Major League Soccer. It's MLS Season Pass on the Apple TV app. Every single match, no blackouts or restrictions, all in one place. The best part about MLS Season Pass is it's on every screen with the Apple TV app. Whether it's smart TVs, streaming devices, gaming consoles, set-top
Make sure to join us back at Shell Energy Stadium on May 27th as your Houston Dynamo FC take on Austin FC as we celebrate AAPI Heritage Night. Kickoff is at 7:30 p.m. Get your tickets now by going to HoustonDynamoFC.com. Live events are better than ever thanks to SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of the Houston Dynamo. Download the SeatGeek app today and get your seat. Now turn your attention
Houston Dynamo leading Minnesota United by a 1-0 at the break. Houston getting that goal courtesy of a penalty converted by Corey Baird. Minnesota also now down to 10 men as we tell you about the 108th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, the oldest annual team sports tournament in the United States, and I believe the third oldest tournament in all of cup football in the world, behind just the FA Cup and the Scottish FA Cup as well. 100 teams in. We're now down to 16 with 2 USL Championship sides remaining. As we look at the bracket, as we told you, the winner of tonight's game will face the winner of Austin FC and Chicago Fire. The late kickoff tonight in the West region is LA Galaxy and LAFC. In the Northeast region, tomorrow will be Pittsburgh and Columbus. Right now, heading into extra time, it's New York and FC Cincinnati. In the Southeast region, Birmingham, Charlotte tomorrow, Inter Miami, and Nashville are in a lightning delay. So we can show you the scores from the other games. As we mentioned, New York won, FC Cincinnati won, a late equalizer from Dante Van Zier from the goal of Yuya Kubo of FC Cincinnati. So it's 1-1 heading to extra time at Red Bull Arena. Lightning delay between Miami and Nashville. Miami getting the goal through Franco Negri and Nashville through Alex Muilles. We can now take you through the halftime highlights. Chris Whittingham, Eric Dobransky here for commentary. This one in Minnesota trying to press early and get something here. The cross from DJ Taylor would come kindly for Bangi Longwane, but a huge save from Andrew Tarbell.
And it was really good balance from Minnesota United throughout the first 45, especially early on. They were stretching Houston. They were finding some of those wide services. And then Houston found these sequences where they really allowed numbers to join. They found advantages. And then this ball played in and a tremendous save by Irwin. And that was Tarbell and Irwin exchanging big saves. And then the handball inside the 18-yard box. And Baird steps up, puts his team up 1-0. And then Arriaga had already picked up a yellow card at midfield in the first 25 minutes or so, and then turns this ball over, and knowing that his team's down 1-0, frantically tries to get back, and then the foul on Baird there, and picking up his second yellow of the night with the send-off, and now putting his team down a player. And then for Houston, they're going to continue to see a lot more of the ball now with being a player up. And for Minnesota United, they're going to have to pick and choose when and where they can attack. We talked about it. Set pieces, free kicks, corner kicks are going to be really important to Minnesota United, as that gives them the availability to send numbers forward and some of those scripted plays as well.
Eric, on that penalty decision, or rather the second yellow card decision, was that worthy of a second yellow for you?
It's tough because there's support defenders behind Arriaga, so I don't necessarily know if that was worth a second yellow. But in the run of play where it's a casual turnover right there, I mean, it's tough because Arriaga puts himself in that situation. But I think with the support defenders behind him, I didn't think there was necessarily a need for that foul from Arriaga. So he puts himself in the referee in a situation where gives him the second yellow, and it doesn't. And for refereeing purposes, you can't necessarily worry about if Arriaga's sitting on a yellow already and that determining the outcome. But he did feel like it was going to take away a scoring opportunity, as we see a number of substitutions for Adrian Heath.
Triple change is being readied here, partially to try and change this game, partially with a view towards a league match at the weekend. Just get players in and out. So Taylor, Trapp, and Longwane are the players that come off. And it is Kamar Lawrence, Hassani Dotson, and Cameron Dunbar that come on. Lawrence and Dotson are regular starters in this team as well. So really about just limiting the workload for some players, and also to try and change the shape of things a little bit, down to 10 men. Moving in that first half to a 4-4-1 after the change, or rather after the red card. And so we'll see how Minnesota adjusts here. Try and get something from this. Get a goal from a set piece, can try and hang on in this one. Houston were down to 10 men in the last round against Sporting Kansas City for 55 minutes and hung on for a win, so it certainly can be done, but Minnesota in a far different situation, finding themselves a goal behind as they're underway in the second half. Minder Garcia trying to get involved straight away. Houston getting rid and will want to try and make their advantage tell and have a fair bit of the ball and pick through a Minnesota defense that will have space in and amongst it to get control of the ball first. Here's Kamar Lawrence. The Jamaican made his big move to Europe in 2020 to Anderlecht in Belgium, but didn't quite crack it in the first team. Moved back stateside and now flying straight here in Minnesota. As Maples will let it bounce twice before eventually getting rid. And now a chance here for Baird to get forward into space. Baird on for Quinones. Look at the cross into the area. It's over the head there of Thor Farson. And now Basua played out the other side. We didn't mention the Houston change in the midst of all that as Basua get the subsequent cross in. It's over everyone's head and out for the goal kick. But Eric Sviatchenko still working his way to full fitness and being ready in full for this side. Came off there for Ethan Bartlow, who has started each and every match at center back for Houston in MLS play. So he will come in to that back four. Richard Heath throwing everything at it at halftime with the triple change, and see if he can alter this one. Sanbin Jong as it cleared off him by Mujib Murana, and out for the throw. So let's reset the teams for you. Andrew Tarbell is in goal. His third Open Cup start. Right to left back four, Mujib Murana, Taylor Maples, Ethan Bartlow, and Brad Smith. Brooklyn Reigns and Luis Caicedo anchor the two in midfield. Baird, Thor O'Farson part of that forward line. Nelson Quinones playing wide down the right, and Baird down the left in the attacking area. And Zarek Valentin will get the cross into the area, the header away from Maples.
And this is what's going to be interesting for the second half for Houston, is how much of this half do they play cautious to really preserve a 1-0 lead, because 1-0 moves you on to the quarterfinals. But also, how much do they want to play open and go ahead and find that second goal and really put this game possibly out of reach for Minnesota, playing a player down. So it's going to be that balance, and I think that's where Minnesota is going to find some success on the ball, even though they're playing without Arriaga and playing 10v11. It's going to be on Houston to really dictate the tempo and the pace that they want to play. And does that change after 15 minutes? Do you go out and really open yourself up to quickly find a second goal, and then you sit back and you preserve it a bit? Again, playing a player up, you're going to want to be aggressive. You're going to want to go ahead and make this a bit easier of a match if you can find that second goal.
Smith on for O'Farson. Now Houston trying to press. Dotson emerges with it. On from Dunbar for Garcia. This is well done by Minnesota United. Sanbin Jong on for Dunbar, but didn't see the challenge coming from behind. And now a free kick given is Rosales getting a healthy amount there of Amina Bassi, and the eights colliding, resulting in a free kick to Houston.
And we're going to see Minnesota switching the point really well, finding quick outlets. And then some of these fouls at midfield we're going to see from both teams, because they're going to be very careful with what they're willing to give up in some of those counter-attacking moments.
Quinones On for O'Farson, off of Coleman and out for the throw. Let's reset the Minnesota team. All right, at Clint Irwin in goal. Zarek Valentine right back. The two center backs, Michael Boxall and Brent Coleman. Kamar Lawrence has come on as a sub. 4 in the middle. Binjong, Dotson, Rosales, and Cameron Dunbar on the right. Free kick given to Houston. Mendez Garcia leads the line. Here's Smith. Corey Baird. And Amina Bassi. Houston pressing to get a second. As I told you in the first half, they've only found 2 goals twice this season. Home wins over Austin and LA Galaxy. Nice touches there from Reigns. And Brad Smith is in space. Not too many targets. The cross is in and overhit there. Quinones going down and trying to win something off of Lawrence, but referee was unmoved as it does come out for the throw.
And it's going to be really important for Minnesota United to really stay switched on those wide services, because they know they're going to have to absorb a lot of the pressure here in this second 45, but they're really trying to pick that one moment and create that one chance they need to equalize. But besides that, they know they're going to have to put numbers in the box. Have to be really detailed on covering those dangerous areas. So the last thing you want to do is concede a second goal.
News of a goal from one of the other games going on tonight in the Open Cup. A 73rd minute goal for Nicolas Stefanelli of Inter Miami to give them the 2-1 lead. As the cross is caught there easily by Clint Irwin, back from a lightning delay at Drag Pink Stadium. Kickoff resuming about 10 minutes ago. Just as Nashville had drawn level, Miami get the lead to try and get to the quarterfinal. Boxall. Hit there in the direction of Valentine. He did manage to get there. It is off of Baird last, and will be a throw. Houston trying to end a run of dominance this fixture. Minnesota have won the last 6 meetings between Minnesota United and Houston in MLS, including last Wednesday night, a 1-0 win for the Loons back at Allianz Field. Attempted flick there from Garcia, and a free kick given as Reigns stepped in the way.
And nothing that's going to really disrupt what Minnesota's trying to do. I mean, it allows them to get numbers behind the ball, get shape. They just don't want to find themselves in another situation where they're accumulating yellow cards, but the fouls and build-up really not going to hinder anything that Minnesota's trying to do. You know, it's going to add a little bit of frustration, but you can see Houston already sending numbers forward a bit earlier and quicker than they did early on in that first half, knowing they have the numbers and coverage.
Brad Smith trying to play in behind. Does manage to recover it. Caicedo, former New England Revolution players. It's helped on there towards Bassi, but played the right weight there from Baird. Now, Sangbin Jong. You can see as he was drifting through that midfield area, just weren't any running mates. I continue to mention Minnesota playing down to 10 players for Second yellows. It's given away there by Coleman. Really had a similar giveaway in the first half, but was fortunate that the flag went up for a throw. As it's lofted in towards Bassi. The header won there by Coleman. The Frenchman will get there first. Going from Metz in the French second division. As I mentioned in the first half, hit for penalties in his first 4 MLS matches, scoring all of them. One player in MLS history had a longer scoring streak to start his Major League Soccer career, that being Taylor Twellman. New England Revolution, hit for goals in his first 6 games. Bassi hitting for goals in his first 4. And still integrating into this team. A lot of pieces coming together. 16 additions in the bygone transfer window, and Ben Olsen still figuring them all out. Ibrahim Aliou, the most recent, he's available from the bench. Started the weekend in their 1-1 draw away at Dallas.
And this is a spell that Minnesota is okay with because everything's being played amongst that back line. The midfield goes backwards. You want to make Houston make a decision and not hand them a decision in the final third. Go back to being frustrated. It is going to be frustrating to not see a lot of the ball for Minnesota United, but again, Houston not going anywhere with it. Pick and choose your moments. You mentioned it a couple sequences ago. There's going to have to be an understanding and decision making when going forward for Minnesota United. When are their numbers? When's their support? When's the interchange there, the collective involvement? And that's definitely something Adrian Heath and his staff brought up at halftime to their squad.
Nice ball from Bassi out towards Quiñones. His cross is away there from Valentin. Caicedo. And Murana. And Brad Smith. He's made 5 sub appearances in the league. Now his second start here in the Open Cup. All the way back to Bartlow. Players who stuck around, they're not a ton of them to be fair. As it's come here for Bassi. Couple of options to aim for. The pullback is in towards Quiñones, who steadies himself to have a go. He's never going to work his way around Lawrence.
He didn't know what he had behind him. It almost looked like if he had played the ball off to his left. You appreciate the decisiveness, putting it on his right foot, but as you mentioned, having to work around Lawrence as well. Really tremendous defender.
This time that Houston beat Minnesota at this stage of the competition, they went on to win it all. As Houston are readying a double change, and we will see Ache come on in this game. Hector Herrera, the all-time great Mexican internationals, as it will be him and the aforementioned Aliou who will come on as Maples. I think a run out, but it will be a corner to Minnesota United, and a chance to take advantage here from one of the precious set piece opportunities that the Loons will get here. And now the double change will come in for Houston, and a change as well for Minnesota as Amaria will come on for Mender Garcia. So just the one change left for Adrian Heath. on the hour. I think Houston will keep their powder dry until they've defended this set piece. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, we generally don't make changes while you're defending a set piece.
No, and that's something where, for Minnesota United, absolutely make the change. A different look on the offensive side, but defensively, let it be set.
The corner will be whipped in towards that back post. Dotson with work to do to try and get there, and a bit of a waste of a set piece opportunity there for Minnesota. And now the changes will occur. So Reigns will come off on the hour for Hector Herrera, heck of a player to bring off the bench. And Ibrahim Aliyu, the young Nigerian, will come on for Thor Olfarsson, the hero at the weekend, getting that late equalizer, and the hero in the last round of the Cup, scoring the game's only goal in their 1-0 win over Sporting Kansas City in the 4th round of the Open Cup.
And shows you what Ben Olsen's mindset is, really going after that second goal. Wants to put a lot more pressure into this Minnesota United side. Again, just presenting a different look as well. You're playing a player up, can manipulate some of the scenarios that really begin to present themselves throughout the rest of the second half.
Murana. And Bassi will slide it in behind. It's a decent idea in towards Aliyu, who just came on, but Clint Irwin had it read the whole way. Does look now like Aliyu will lead the line. In a wide position at the weekend. There's a free kick given. Put back in play quickly. Lawrence receiving from Luis Amarilla. Nice bent ball in behind. Here's Dunbar, low in towards. One there of Sang-Bin Jong. Just couldn't get there. It was good covering defending from Maples. Opening there as Dunbar found the space in behind. Now Acha directing traffic. Bassi. Herrera. And Baird. One's being made beyond him. Corey Baird now. Nelson Quinones. Caicedo. And Mina Bassi. Houston enjoying a nice spell of possession here. Bassi and Herrera, they're interchanging, having to recover it though. And Zorro. And now Bassi measuring the volley, and it's down the barrel at Irwin, who is able to handle cleanly.
And you do have to like the commitment on both sides of the ball for Houston. Sometimes when you play numbers up like Houston is, you get a bit too casual in the thinking in terms of who's supporting who's covering what space, what does the man marking look like. Right now, Houston is covering the ground, covering the spaces, not allowing Minnesota United to create any of those. They did concede that corner kick just a few moments ago, but besides that, haven't really seen too much danger coming towards Andrew Tarbell.
Bassi on for Quinones, and I'll make the run beyond him. Played in towards Amina. Bassi, who tried to just chip it inside there of Lawrence, but it did come off the Jamaican international left back and out for a corner to Houston.
And as the second half wears on, I'm interested to see, and there was substitutions obviously made at halftime going into to start the second half by Minnesota United. But as the second half wears on, what does the fatigue look like?
Corner taken short. Herrera could have a go. Herrera! Just wide of his third Houston goal. Hector Herrera has come on and made an impact, but that one just off target.
Quick, short corner here. Nobody recognizing for Minnesota United. And then Herrera putting it on that left foot. Almost curling it right past Irwin. And that fatigue from Minnesota United might not set in just yet, but maybe some in that decision-making, just like that short corner, is a pretty simple play.
Maria trying to win it. Managed to poke it on here for Sang-Min Jong. Now Dunbar trying to get the strike away and stinging the palms there of Andrew Tarbell. Murana clearing, but Dunbar has provided a threat. Impact substitution from Adrian Heath.
Really decisive movement there by Minnesota United. 1, 2, 3 passes and they were in. And that's what Adrian Heath and his side are going to look for to try to get back into this match.
Boxall getting caught. And a free kick given, advantage awarded, and it would eventually be a yellow card to Michael Boxall. Does not protest too much. We're gonna have a look at, did take a slight deflection there off the boot of Bartlow as well to make it that extra bit more complicated, and here look at the yellow card.
And those are those moments where Minnesota United's gonna really try to deny some of those transition sequences for Houston. Whether that's through a successful tackle or through a foul as well.
Bassi, nice through line for Baird, second! Lovely chip, the flag staying down. And this time, a beautiful pass from Amina Bassi results in a goal. Baird getting the penalty in the first, and the cheeky little chip for the 2-0 lead for Houston Dynamo.
And really, we just saw it a moment ago with the quick restart on the corner from Houston. Now again, free kick, Herrera on it, ball played through, and the slightest of touches into Baird. And while Minnesota United's appealing for an offsides, the clever finish by Corey Baird, who collects the brace for the night and extending his team's lead. And we already thought it was going to be difficult for Minnesota United, being a player down, to find the equalizer against such a solid defensive side in Houston Dynamo. And now finding that precious second goal that we've mentioned throughout the evening.
And now would appear on their way to an Open Cup quarterfinal, facing the winner of Austin and Chicago in the next round. Those two will play tomorrow. Smith cutting inside and now stretching his legs. Again, the idea to play it in behind, this time from Baird. Herrera though on for Bassi, back for Herrera, and now Quiñones trying to pass the ball into the net. The offside flag coming up against Quiñones. That could have been a spectacular third if not for the flag. I'm not certain. I thought Valentin might have kept it all on.
It looked as if Quiñones was onside. Trying to play the ball back to Herrera in that sequence.
Full time at Dry Pink Stadium. Inter Miami are through to the Open Cup quarterfinal after beating Nashville SC by 2-1. Nico Stefanelli with the winning goal. So Miami will face the winner, Birmingham Legion and Charlotte FC. Lawrence. And Rosales, plenty of space on this right though. Getting forward here, Valentin. He'll lift the cross in. It's catching practice for Andrew Tarbell. Says Valentin found himself in acres on that right. Now, Houston nearly played themselves into trouble. Will emerge with it there. Caicedo. Now Baird. Smith joining him on the overlap. He'll play him in. Brad Smith's low cross is cut out there by Buxall at the near post. Houston finding the openings.
This game going back and forth. And Houston has found some moments where they've gotten overshifted in that back line, and that right flank really opens up for Minnesota United. Now with this 2-0 lead, you can really understand to just accept some of those services are going to be clipped in. And as you mentioned, that last one was just floated in, and Tarbell able to meet it at its highest point, nothing dangerous.
Quinones' effort gone wide there. Houston making another change as Amin Abbasi has been incredibly influential. The passing game will come off with the introduction of Ivan Franco. The big acquisitions in the offseason, joining from Libertad in Paraguay. Club where Houston have gone to get a couple of players, Franco and Sebas Ferreira, their record signing.
We've talked throughout the decisions that these teams, these coaches, these organizations have to make going into such a congested week and weeks, whether it's regular season, U.S. Open Cup. Both these coaches having to deal with completely different scenarios within the 90 as well. Ben Olsen now with a 2-goal lead. Do you start to see some of that, a little bit more rotation now? Try to get fresh legs out there preparing for a Saturday match as well. And for Adrian Heath, facing a 2-goal deficit, what are the decisions? Do you try to find that first one within this, before the 80th minute, around the 80th minute, and try to find the equalizer past that? But if you're still down 2-0 with less than 10 left, what becomes the rotation at that point? Do you start maybe looking at Saturday already? Obviously, these two head coaches and these two clubs are extremely ambitious when it comes to chasing silverware like the U.S. Open Cup. But it's just tough decisions when you face a double yellow and the red card that Arriaga picked up in the first half.
Fragapane now over the free kick. Came on for Sang-Min Jung. Minnesota will commit numbers forward here to try and get back into the game. It's the first man, Caicedo. Now could there be a break on Fragapane? Trying to get right side there of Murana. We gave it away. Now Rosales, the snapping challenge coming in. Will be another free kick here. As Quinones put the challenge in. And it's taken quickly. Fragapane for Rosales. His cross is massively overhit. Straight out for a throw. And one that Honduran will want back.
And unfortunately for those situations where Minnesota United has had numbers forward, they've really missed on the services and those entry balls, whether it was the corner kick or that service right there.
Smith. Cameron Dunbar trying to get the cross away. Was really trying to win a corner there and peg it off of Smith, but went sailing into the supporters stand, which now has a safe standing element to it. One of the many innovations brought in by new owner Ted Siegel to this Shell Energy Stadium, including its new name. Safe standing, new seats all over the ground, made from mesh rather than from plastic to help with the heat, particularly during the summer months. And that Austin FC introduced into the league at Q2 Stadium. An overall fan-forward vision under Ted Siegel. New owner took over a couple of years ago. Wants to take this club forward, bringing through some record signings, giving sporting director Pat Onstad and Ben Olsen the chance to build, improve results. Currently just below the playoff line in 10th in the league. Want to push on. Quinones and Franco returning it towards Quinones, but smart backtracking there from Lawrence.
And you have to believe that Ben Olsen and Pat Onstad are understanding and patient with the fact that you're going to build this team around that defensive structure. And as we talked about in the first half, it's just going to take a little bit for the offensive side to gel. That always becomes the more difficult portion of the field because of the lack of space, the decisiveness, the combination, the link-up play. You really need to start getting into rhythm. And for this team, they're going to hang their hat on and take a lot of pride in the way they defend. And a result, if they can hang on to a clean sheet in this result as well, it just continues to build belief. And then it starts to open up the offensive side as well, knowing that that structure is always going to be there defensively. And if they keep a clean sheet tonight, that would be 3 U.S. Open Cup matches in this tournament, no goals against. And I mean, that says a lot.
First time strike there from Herrera, spilled by Irwin. But manages to hang on. Herrera caught it cleanly, straight at the goalkeeper.
What I was going to say is it says a lot about the collective and the identity of this team, the depth. And for Ben Olsen, you've got to hope that it gains traction going into the MLS regular season as well.
Make 10 changes and still have the 2-0 lead here in the Open Cup. It's a decent display of depth here from this Houston side as from Fragapane and Dotson. Amaria trying to play around the corner. Looked like it opened up for Amaria. So Minnesota remained down to 10 men. Kervin Arriaga with the 2 yellows picked up in the first half. Houston did have the lead before that yellow. Baird can get forward. And into space here is Ibrahim Aliou! His first Houston Dynamo goal. And the young Nigerian confirms Houston Dynamo are heading to the Open Cup quarterfinal. It's 3-0 to the Dynamo.
And knowing and understanding that they could play forward really quickly. And Corey Baird, who has now had a say in 3 of the goals tonight, he really manipulates the space that Aliou was able to run into. Good patience on the run. Baird committing that central defender over to that right side as well. Well-weighted pass into space. And just the calm finish by Aliou, getting his head up, getting a new picture of where Irwin is off his line. Ben Olsen and his side have to be really pleased with the overall performance. Obviously, that dynamic changed a bit when Minnesota went down a player. But even before then, they started to get footing into the match. They started to grow into the match.
Herrera. And Smith will get there. Plenty of pace down that left side. Smith, the cross. We recovered here by Quiñones. And Houston now trying to hit for more than 3 for the first time under Ben Olsen. Been a prolific scoring team. Their newest manager, his first year, after 2 years off from coaching. He's in MLS. He's involved in the organization of Washington Spirit for a little while, the NWSL side. He's taken the reins here in Houston. He's manager of DC United for 10 years. There's a yellow card going to be shown here in the direction of Caicedo for his challenge there on Dunbar. First booking of the match shown towards a Houston Dynamo player. They're 3-0 up, rather. Here, look at that challenge. Shoulder through the back there of Dunbar. As Griffin Dorsey will come on. That is the final throw of the dice from manager Olsen. Quiñones is the player who makes way.
And a lot of credit to this Houston Dynamo midfield. Caicedo, Quiñones, Brooklyn Reigns, bringing on Hector Herrera when it was only 1-0. Finding 2 goals, creating 2 goals with the substitutions. Herrera with the quick restart for the goal for Corey Baird's second.
Corey Baird's on a hat trick as he drifts into the air. Corey Baird! Nearly a breakout performance for him. As will be a goal kick here as they come out of play before Boxall can get rid. And Baird, I think, was looking for that hat trick. He had Aliou available to his left.
When you're flowing with the confidence that Corey Baird is flowing with, why not?
You want to direct your attention to the other Open Cup game in action at the moment. It was the early kickoff, but New York Red Bulls and FC Cincinnati are currently in penalties. That one also available on the BR Football YouTube channel. And New York Red Bulls just having their first penalty saved. So it's 1-0 to Cincinnati after the first round of takes. Available on the Bleacher Report app and on the BR Football YouTube channel. Now again, Houston on the break. Franco's got options. He plays an alley-oop. Can go for his second. Save again from Clint Irwin.
And almost a replica run from Aliou, inside out. Creating that space for himself.
Houston again winning possession. And Dorsey was at times played as a right back for Houston, is taking up a position on this right wing. Houston just seeing out this game. Minnesota will go back to work in the league as they entertain Real Salt Lake, and then again playing midweek football next Wednesday as they're away at Austin. mentioned Austin are the potential next opponent for Houston. Could also be Chicago Fire. Those two sides meeting tomorrow, and also available on the platforms of Bleacher Report. Dorsey. Low cross is sent right back towards him there by Lawrence. (2-1) Cincinnati after 2 rounds of takes in that penalty shootout. Baird, interchange there, unable to control it. Helped on here is Dunbar. Carry forward. Cincinnati converting their third through Dominique Badji. Rosales. Dotson.
Minnesota United hosting, as you mentioned, Real Salt Lake, a team that plays tomorrow night in the Open Cup as they travel to the Colorado Rapids. Consecutive matchups at Colorado. 3-2 win for Real Salt Lake in the MLS regular season. And just as Minnesota United came into this matchup having to defeat Houston for a second time within 6 days, now it's going to be Real Salt Lake in their matchup tomorrow. And you talk about some of the travel that these teams face. Real Salt Lake going from Colorado, going to travel on Thursday over to Minnesota.
It's a busy period. MLS is now playing as many as 4 competitions. Putting those sides that play in the Champions League. Obviously the league play, the Open Cup, and now the new Leagues Cup. Starting in July as Smith is low cross. It's deflected there by Boxall. Dotson trying to get Minnesota moving forward. All too much though for Dunbar, and Taylor Maples makes his first Dynamo start for the senior team. Up to the challenge tonight. To hang on could be part of his first Dynamo clean sheet.
And we highlighted the depth that these organizations look to display through U.S. Open Cup regular season. As you mentioned, a number of other.
As Franco will play it in behind, Aliou will pull it back for Baird. There's his hat trick. Equaling his previous total of Houston Dynamo goals in one night. It's a breakout evening for Corey Baird. It's a breakout evening for Houston Dynamo. They're into the quarterfinal with a 4-0 lead.
And the commitment to the runs off the ball for Houston, and really recognizing when those dangerous runs are initiated. Now you finding Corey Baird, who decisively and calmly tucks it away. Saw it in the chance earlier by Corey Baird. Looking for that hat trick, and now he finds it. And you said it, really breakout performance for Corey Baird, but also for this Houston Dynamo side. I was saying, with all the competitions in the league and the depth, we have so much science within the game now with GPSs, the trackers, there's so much that goes into it, but there's still the aspect of how players are feeling, the fatigue. There's so many things that come into play when making some of those decisions. When you play those midweek fixtures, and whether you're hosting or on the road, So those decisions are so fluid for these coaches and these players.
Dorsey trying to add more to this lead. Confirmation of a full-time result in our other Open Cup match tonight. FC Cincinnati are going through to the Open Cup quarterfinal, converting all 5 of their penalty takes. Acosta, Moreno, Baji, Mosquera, and Barreal all converting from the spot, knocking the New York Red Bulls out of the Open Cup. So Cincinnati, who are top of the Supporter Shield standings in MLS, are now going through to the Open Cup quarterfinal as well. They'll face the winner of Pittsburgh and Columbus. These final seconds ticking from the minimum of 1 at the end of this match. And Minnesota down to 10 men. Just could not hang on in this second half and create anything, as Amarilla will try and get one last chance at a consolation goal. Turns and passes it back. And there is the full-time whistle. Houston hit for 4 for the first time under Ben Olsen. Corey Baird gets a hat trick, and they've knocked Minnesota United out of the Open Cup by 4-0.
Really comprehensive performance by Houston Dynamo. Knowing into that second half that they were going to be a player up for a full 45, knew where and how to expose that dangerous space and capitalized. Found 3 goals, created those 3 chances. And what a night for Corey Baird. Started with the penalty in the first half, but a Houston Dynamo side that just continued to find a rhythm on the ball in the offensive third. And you knew they were going to be tough to break down defensively. But once this team got going offensively in the second half, there was no stopping them.
And Houston get the 4-0 win, as we can now show you the bracket in this central region. Houston through. 8 p.m. Central Time kickoff between Austin FC and Chicago Fire tomorrow night from Q2 Stadium. If Austin get the home win, we'll have a Copa Tejas quarterfinal between a pair of Texas sides, but Chicago will do their best away from home. As we can now take you through our full-time highlights from this one, show you the goals in this game. We'll start first with the handball that leads to the penalty for Houston. Corey Baird would take after he won it off the arm of Bongi Langwane, and Baird with a simple finish down the middle.
And this was really when Houston was starting to find a footing in the game. They started to get really good numbers in the final third, really forcing Minnesota United to drop into their own 18-yard box. The handball there, and then Arriaga already playing on a yellow, gathering his second, putting his team down a player, and after that, the field was really tilted with Houston Dynamo just going and finding different spaces to expose, and Corey Baird had himself a night. The substitutes making a quick impact as well for Houston Dynamo. And then Corey Baird, not only the 3 goals, but the assist on the Aliu goal right here. Delaying the run, the pace of the pass, and then the finish around Irwin. And then things went from bad to worse for Minnesota United. Getting split open. Aliu returning the favor from the assist from Corey Baird. Getting access to the hat trick for Corey Baird on the night. And overall, just really solid in both boxes for Houston Dynamo.
And the statistics would reveal the ultimate domination on the night from Houston. 60% of the ball. Minnesota made 3 changes at the half to try and hang on and get something from it, but in the end, not enough, as Houston would find the spaces, particularly as that second half wore on. Corey Baird involved in all 4 goals. His greatest night as a Houston Dynamo player, and the players dancing and enjoying their night out with the supporters as Houston Dynamo are through to the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal, as they've beaten Minnesota United tonight by 4-0. What a night for Corey Baird. What a night for Houston. They continue their home dominance, 5 wins in 7 in this building, and will now face the winner of either Austin or Chicago. For our tremendous production team and my broadcast partner, Eric Dobransky. My name is Chris Whittingham, signing off. Houston Dynamo, led by a hat trick from Corey Baird, are through to the Open Cup quarterfinal. They beat Minnesota United by 4-0.